Destiny, more about the Napoleon movie.
During a brief...
I will edit for you. Actually, sit down and have a talk about the stuff you missed. I wasn't trying to bail last week. I was just... Listen, Sasha, if you want to join disagreements in chat, we can go for it. But I've seen the stuff you type. I'm pretty sure we're going to disagree with literally everything. But go for it.
During a brief period between military appointments, Napoleon married Josephine de Beauharnais. She took his proposal largely to pay her own debts, and even cheated on him regularly at first. He'd take a series of mistresses, but only after learning of her liaison. So Napoleon, indisputably one of the most important men in history, was a during a brief...
Bayzed. Please shout out the Gooners in chat. Shout out to the Gooners in chat.
Do you know what they call attorney generals when they're attorneys general? They call them general. So
yes, they call me General Harris.
General Harris.
And so she hates that.
It was so perfect. She's General Harris. And so when she was elected attorney general, she actually said, you realize you're going to have to start calling me General Harris. So my feeling is that when she's president of the United States, I will call her Miss President. But until then, you're just Kamala.
All right. Okay. No, I'm Big Sister. Big Sister General.
Do you know what they call attorney general?
Wow, simply epic. Do you see the Project 25 training video that got leaked? Nope. Sounds amazing, though. You're seriously considering voting for Kamala Linfeld? What would your answer say? Am I considering it? No, it's like a foregone conclusion. The people who laughed at conservatives losing their shit over the WEF and such are now losing their shit over Project 2025. Because the WEF and everything alleged there is a conspiracy with absolutely no ties to anything real happening ever. It's a conspiracy involving global billionaires and large organizations that work internationally that have absolutely, like, none of the things that they claim to have, like, trying to work on behind the scenes, none of those things are real. Project 2025 was an actual cohesive platform put out by the Heritage Foundation with tons of direct links to the Trump campaign. I believe with some direct references from people in the Trump campaign to this project. Not even remotely comparable. Jesus.
In working with conservative media outlets, it's important to understand their role in this whole system. The American people who vote for a conservative presidential administration, they're not reading the New York Times. They're not reading the Washington Post. Actually, to the contrary. If those outlets publish something, they're going to assume it's false. So the only way to reach them with any voice of credibility is through working with conservative media outlets. For many of these people, if it's not in these conservative outlets, it didn't happen or it's not true.
So I remember when I was in school, in elementary school, we were taught that we were all going to be frozen over by an ice age. And of course, this was terrifying. And then in the 80s, it was acid rain. We were all going to die from the acid rain. And then it moved to global warming, which I think, you know, most of the people watching this tape will remember. That was during the Obama administration.
Yes.
And then science comes along and disproves the global warming theory in large part, and we have one of the most frigid winters ever known.
One of the things I don't like is people will say, well, they used to think that this thing would be a problem, and then it wasn't. And then they used to think this thing would be a problem, then it wasn't. For a lot of these, it's because we actually made, like, measurable achievements in reducing certain types of harm to the environment. Like, LA used to be, like, almost uninhabitable because of how fucking smoggy and fucking disgusting it was. Like, this place was fucked. And this was, like, decades ago. Are these pictures from the 90s? This place was fucked, okay? Because of how, if you ever wonder why California has such, all the signs and the regulations and everything, it's like, oh, why? Because it was completely fucked. Wait, hold on. There were, like, huge gains made by certain types of regulations that reduce the amount of pollution in these areas. Same thing with, like, the ozone layer, the ozone hole as well, and, like, the banning of the CFCs, the whatever chlorofluoro bullshits or whatever. Yeah, like these things didn't just go away because science proved that it was a rumor or a myth. They went away because like people took active steps towards remedying these problems.
Comes along and disproves the global warming theory in large part, and we have one of the most frigid winters ever known. And then the next thing you know...
Do you notice the camera panning? It's so engaging. I did notice. I was going to say something. I don't like camera pans on podcasts. I think it's cheap and stupid. It makes it look cheap and dumb to me. I don't like it.
We're calling it climate change. Now, I always understood that climate change meant seasons. Our climate does change all the time, but of course that's not what's meant by the left. What do you think about all of about the left's words and definitions in the environment?
It's a great point, Katie. They don't stop. Climate change allegedly is everywhere. And if the American people elect a conservative president, his administration will have to eradicate climate change references from absolutely everywhere. And according to our intelligence community, the #1 threat facing our country today is, drumroll, climate change. Not Russia, not China, not AI, climate change. This shows how the federal government is all in on this issue. And climate change activists wield a lot of power. This is an issue to pay attention to as it has infiltrated every part of the federal government. Now, when I think of climate change, I immediately think of population control, don't you? I think about the people who don't want you to have children because of the impact on the environment. Perhaps not everyone will make that connection, but after spending time in the international space trying to protect life, I can tell you that this is part of their ultimate goal, to control people.
One of the things that's so insidious about the conservative movement of today is that like these exact same talking points would show up on Rush Limbaugh, but the reason why they would show up on Rush Limbaugh is because conservatives back then wanted to try to deregulate to protect like large businesses, right? They wanted to deregulate to let the businesses just make more money, basically. Yeah, that's it. Now conservatives say stuff like this, but then they also still hate large businesses. I don't even know what the fuck the goal is now, right? Like they would never say, like people champion deregulation from Trump, but then they also hate all American large businesses. So I don't know. I don't even know what the fuck the point is anymore. They just hate. They're haters. They hate everything. It's just weird and crazy. Like, I don't know what the fuck the point is anymore. Like when conservatives did it in the past, in the 2000s, because they wanted to let to let the Exxon Mobils and the huge like global conglomerates like run free and, make fuck tons of money or whatever. And it's like, okay, fine. But now it's just like satanic.
I'm sorry to do this to you, but we're going to look at a picture of you so I can guess how old you are. So here's your profile pic. Looks like it's taken around Christmas time. I'm going to guess you were born in the early mid-90s. So here's a map of annual wet sulfate deposition. It was basically a surrogate for acid rain in like the last few years. And if we slide over to the early 90s, you'll see that there was a big difference between those two things. So the reason you thought acid rain was going to be a common problem when you were growing up is because
Wait, I thought he was getting his hair cut. I thought this was like a barber's thing. I just realized it's a shirt. Sorry.
The rain was going to be a common problem when you were growing up is because it was a common problem, and we were really worried that it was going to become an increasingly more common problem because we were going to have to make more and more energy, burn more and more coal, create more and more acid rain. And what that resulted in was a lot of people working really hard to figure out ways to continue to create electricity without creating acid rain. This is straight something that we pulled off as humans during my lifetime. We did the science necessary to realize there was a problem, and then we did the advocacy and legislation and engineering necessary to solve the problem.
People just pretend like this just went away.
I thought it would be funny to say...
Oh my God, who linked this as an example of a 3-person podcast? Hold on, is this a 60 hertz? I should remember this tone. It is. Can you hear it on the mic? They've got a wire that's crossed with a power source. Listen.
I can beat you. Just to throw around as a goof,
Yeah.
He didn't hear it, his security did. And they just looked at me like, what is this? So quietly.
Wait, you can't hear it?
And I should have said immediately something. I got nervous, so I missed the beat. And I said, I thought it would be funny to say, you know, I can beat you. Just to throw around as a goof, you know?
Yeah.
He didn't hear it. His security did. And they just looked at me like, so quietly. And like, I can beat you. Like, just nothing.
And security guy. His adventures
In my life, end of the world.
Let me see if I can find a place where they're not all talking.
Mothership, dude.
I don't know. I've seen...
But
how shootings of my life I've seen here.
You saw people got shot here?
You can hear that, right?
The first two
hold on.
shootings of my life I've seen here.
You saw people...
It's a ground loop. It's a 60 hertz.
Who got shot here?
In the head. The first two shootings of my life I've seen here.
You saw people got shot here?
In the head.
What?
The first two shootings of my life I've seen here.
You saw people got shot here?
In the head.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, is it 50? Hold on, wait. That sounds higher pitch. Well, I think it's an octave up. Whatever it is, it's an octave up, but... No, I think it's 60. Wait.
The first two shootings of my life I've seen here.
You saw people got shot here?
In the head.
What?
It's definitely 60. But maybe sometimes it does the octave. I don't know why. Or what would cause it. It's this. What does it sound like at 240? Octave is always a doubling of the frequency. Nope, not this.
Three, two.
No, it's the 120.
Mothership, dude. That place is gunned out.
But how worried are you about danger?
I don't know. I've seen the first two shootings
hear
of
it?
my life I've seen here.
You saw people got shot here?
In the head.
What?
Yeah, that's...
Fuck you guys. Okay. I don't know why I always like this. Is there any way I can grab your live stream backgrounds like the house one you're using? What? Here's a 4-person podcast. What's the difference between 50 and 60? I don't know how, but I think that the frequency of the ground loop somehow relates to the voltage of the voltage used in homes. So in America, you're likely to run into a 60 hertz ground loop, but in Europe, you run into 50 hertz tones. I don't know why. I don't know what it's a frequency or what it's a function of. Or
yeah, I don't know how. But anyway, let's move on, okay? I don't want to talk about it anymore, and I am a fucking poser. You know what? You know what? Fuck it. I'm a poser. I'm a loser, and I'm a poser.
Can you roll on one?
Excuse me?
Can you roll down the road on a skateboard?
have we watched on stream the I think I've only ever seen the shorts version of this.
When I was...
I don't know if we watched this on stream or not.
When I was 9, I got molested by a guy with Down syndrome.
Don't laugh, Brandon.
I'm not laughing.
Why'd you laugh?
It's just...
That's fucking rude.
It's such a curveball.
I'm going to say it again, and if you smile, I'm going to leave.
Okay. But
No,
hold
I'm being
on.
real. If you smile, I'm
All
gonna
right,
fucking leave.
hold on.
That really fucking broke me.
No.
All right.
You ready? Don't cover your mouth, though, either.
Hey!
You can't cover your mouth. Because the thing is that I'm telling you something that's like I'm vulnerable about
I know,
it, and I'm
man.
expressing
I'm trying to
a
be
truth
cool.
to you.
Hey, dude. You gotta get serious.
And if you cover your mouth, I just feel like you're laughing.
Nope, let's do it.
All right.
This is,
So when I was 9, I was brutally molested by.
You can't say brutally.
Why?
Because that's a curveball.
Why is that? So when I was 9 years old, every day for a summer.
You can't throw shit in there.
Why?
Every day? You couldn't avoid them, for God's sake? All right, hold on.
Okay. How do you feel about Norm Macdonald? I feel like once you understand him, I didn't think Norm was very funny at first, but then I got a deeper understanding of Norm, and I think he's pretty funny. What did I say? I think this is on Reddit recently.
Let me ask you something. If I say, hey, I think it may be Madrid or Lisbon, and then the 50-50 comes, it's not going to say Madrid or Lisbon, is it?
You don't know.
Okay. But there's not a dude in the back going like...
No. These are locked in. This has been locked in for months.
50-50.
Let's do it. Computer, take away 2 of those wrong answers.
Do you think that most comedians are becoming anti-establishment, or is that how it's always been? I can't tell. My brain is like fucked on what gets popular on internet culture or not. Because like I said, like even just watching that Shane Gillis stuff like a few days ago, I'm like, oh shit, maybe not every comedian is actually super mindfucked. And I feel like Bill Burr doesn't really do that. I watched the live Louis C.K. thing in Madison Square Garden with Mel. And he kind of joked about the cancel culture stuff for a little bit, but then there wasn't much else about it. Trying to think. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like every time I see Chappelle, I feel like it's always about like trans people and cancel culture stuff. But maybe that's just what I see on the internet. Maybe his full shows like aren't like that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't watch much current stand-up at all, so it's hard for me to say. I don't really watch a lot of that right now. Yeah. His last 4 specials are all just trans cancel culture sloppo? What? You mean Chappelle? Joe Rogan's new special bombed hard. Did it? I didn't. I watched one clip of it and it just seemed kind of... Did you see the Dave Chappelle Elon thing when it happened? I don't remember. Maybe? If I say I think I did, is Pisa going to accuse me of lying about watching? I'm just kidding. I don't know what show this is, but this is pretty...
But you remind me of a guy that's good at fucking.
I love it.
Fucking and sucking.
I don't know what show this was, but Norm just has so many weird... just a weird, funny line. I don't even know. I don't even know.
Just afraid of being attacked. Happens to the best of us. Don't ever forget what happened.
The, am I making this up, or when the cops came to talk to him, I don't think they could take his police report for hours. He still had the noose on his neck.
Nearly 70 hours of tapes and files in the Jussie Smollett investigation have been released.
I will never forget
police
this.
Body
It's just so fucking funny.
Valerie.
Christine, hundreds of files, video footage, Cook County judge. It details the Chicago Police Department's meticulous investigation. Chicago police body cameras recorded the moment officers responded to Empire actor Jussie Smollett's apartment after he claimed he'd been the victim of a racist and homophobic attack the night of January 29th. In the video, he removes white rope resembling a noose from around his neck. He claimed his 2 attackers hung it around his neck and doused him with bleach while shouting slurs. During the course of the investigation, police initially arrested the Osundaro brothers, Abel and Ola. This video from inside a taxi cab shows the men on their way to the location where the assault was to take place.
How much do I owe?
In late February, this video captured their arrest on the tarmac at Chicago O'Hare Airport. But police later believe Smollett paid the men who already knew Smollett to stage the attack. Smollett allegedly was hoping the assault would be caught on camera, but it happened in an area where surveillance cameras were not working. Police deemed the incident a hoax and say it was orchestrated by Smollett to drum up publicity. He was arrested for filing a false report, but after several court proceedings, the charges were dismissed.
They brought him back. Pretty sure his ass got convicted on this shit. I think this was him after. Is this after sentencing? Yeah, after sentencing. Yeah.
No, I would just like to say to Your Honor that I am not suicidal. That's what I was about to say.
Okay.
I am not suicidal.
Okay.
I am not suicidal. I am innocent, and I am not suicidal. If I did this, then it means that I stuck my fist in the fears of Black Americans in this country for over 400 years and the fears of the LGBTQ community. Your Honor, I respect you and I respect the jury, but I did not do this, and I am not suicidal. And if anything happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it to myself, and you must all know that. I respect you, Your Honor. I respect your decision. Jail time. I am not suicidal.
Okay.
On March 10th, he was sentenced to 150 days in county jail and 2.5 years on probation. On March 16th, an Illinois appeals court ordered that Smollett, I don't actually know how to pronounce it. Is it Smollett? I don't actually know. Be released from jail upon his posting of $150,000 personal recognizance bond, pending the outcome of the appeal of his conviction. Oh, you know what? I got another email. It was about the affluenza thing. I'm going to use a rush real quick. We're going to talk about this, okay? I'll be right back. 1 second.
I'm not a conservative either. I'm not an anarchist. I want a decent party that cares about the people. That's all we want. Every person, doesn't matter where you're from.
Okay, so if Tories weren't the answer, Labour wasn't the answer, who is?
I'm not a politician and I'm thick as pig shit, but I can talk to people. I've never been to school, I can only write my own name, but I've got an heart as big as a lion, and I'll stand there against anybody for the sake of our country. People need to wake up against Labour. These are the rats. We're not racist, we're scared.
Everybody out there who's not acting and is not on this street now, get out there and act. Don't call yourself a man unless you're out here. Don't call yourself a man. Simple as that. You don't fight for your country. You don't push back the invaders. You're not a man.
If we don't fight now, it's going to come to our kids having to fight, and they're not going to win it. They're not going to win the fight. So I don't want the violence. We've got to try and do it peacefully. But this has to be the final straw where there's a clear message sent to those in charge that you either step up or you step aside now.
I was in Southport on Tuesday.
Police tried to keep apart a group of far-right protesters and a much larger anti-fascist counter-protest.
The media absolutely corrupt. They lied. There wasn't a single member of the EDL there. There weren't a member of the far-right there. There was little girls, older women. There was older men. There was young men, middle-aged men, outraged at what the government's allowing to happen to us. What the government's allowing this cancer to do to us, this cancer that's grown within our nation. We need to stop it.
My children were abused by social services, and Merseyside police have covered it up. They've got a hidden grooming gang that won't be released to the public.
Defund the BBC. The media are the lies. The media is the virus.
Much like at protests in the United States, a line of riot police who sustained minor injuries throughout the course of the day had formed a sort of demilitarized zone between nationalist Stop the Boats protesters and an equally sized counter-protest of mostly left-leaning Liverpool locals who showed up in person to confront a mob of who they believed to be far-right racist protesters.
Wow. The Okay. What have you guys heard about the affluenza thing? The rich kid who something happens because he's rich or whatever. Who type in chat what we've heard about this. What do we heard about this? I don't remember what this came up in an argument initially. Was it with Dan? Yeah, I think it might have been the Brock Turner thing. Wait, no, not Brock Turner. I'm just repeating what I just saw in chat. Hold on, I'm looking it up. Let's see if I can find this. Oh, no, wait. It was Ethan Couch. Wait, hold on. I'm trying to find this. So I don't even know what I heard about this. I feel like when I heard the affluenza thing, that basically some guy had committed a crime, but like they brought in some expert witness and they said that, oh, he's rich, so he shouldn't be punished. And then everybody's ultra ass mad about it. That's what I'd like heard about this. That was like a very broad, vague recollection. Just an email thing I got about this. So I think me and Dan must have been arguing over sentencing guidelines because that's what this is basically about. Or at least that's what part of this is about. In Texas, the presumptive punishment is 2 to 20 years in prison. I don't know Texas system as it relates to mitigating such aggravating sentencing, so I will fall back to my home turf in Minnesota. Vehicular manslaughter has a presumptive commit for about 4 years, but a judge is within his or her rights to change that to probation, assuming mitigating circumstances. The defendant's age, 16, coupled with alcohol use, is an excellent argument to claim the mitigating circumstances that the defendant is more amenable to rehabilitation than the average criminal. And then he puts in parentheses as like a hypothetical thing. Your Honor, my client is not some washed up 40-year-old with 60 DUIs on his record. He's a young man who's been led astray by negligent parents and society. What he needs in life is guidance, not an albatross that will drag him down for the rest of his life. He is committed to attending alcohol addiction treatment and is eager to prove what he can do better and be a productive member of society as he comes of age. And then end quote for hypothetical. Affluenza might sound terrible in the court of public opinion, but I'm sure at the time the lawyers thought it was clever and the judge gave it a sensible chuckle before moving on. The arguments that the lawyers were making in front of the judge were before sentencing. I imagine that before sentencing, it's probably ordinary that you would try to argue basically whatever the fuck you can to a judge to ask for some kind of leniency in sentencing, especially if you have a minor, especially if it's a first offense. When I first heard about this affluenza thing, and then up till basically when I got this a few weeks ago, I'd always just assumed that they said like, oh, he's a rich kid, so you shouldn't punish him or whatever. But in that vein, it actually makes a lot more sense. I'm sure that there's probably a ton of lawyers probably put up a ton of arguments in front of a judge before sentencing because you want it. You're just doing whatever you can to have the sentence reduced for your particular client. So the summary of like, oh, well, because he was rich, he got off. I think ended up getting 10 years probation for this, which is pretty, seems pretty lenient, although it is a minor. I don't know what the ordinary sentencing for minors is in Texas for these types of accidents, especially considering 4 people were killed. But yeah, whenever I argue, some lawyers say crazy things for mitigating factors is a very common practice. Yeah, I don't know, I don't know how much the that argument even influenced the judge's decision here as well. But whenever you're talking about criminal stuff or whenever people bring something up, it's really, really, really important to have all the facts on hand, rather than just like people saying random shit. That's one of the reasons I got triggered during the Rob thing when he would bring up like the Vietnam protests or the BLM stuff, but he didn't have any particular examples on hand. Because I think it does make a difference based on how these things are brought up or what the context is or like how they're treated or whatever. But I know in courts it doesn't matter if it's a minor, but I don't know why you wouldn't want to try him as an adult in his case, or at least from how it's presented. For trying drunk driving as an adult, if I had to guess, and this is pulled out of nothing, I don't know, any criminal lawyer people, where's Leon at? Trying people as an adult probably happens most often when you're getting like super severe, like premeditated violent crimes. That'd be my guess. So like things like first degree murder or things like a planned like violent rape or stuff like this, or some type of like really well planned like violent robbery or arson or something. I feel like these are things where you might say like, listen, fuck the fact that he's a kid. This guy, he was clear in thought. He was very coherent. He planned this out. Like we should try this guy as an adult. For things like manslaughter, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me in general if things like that are more often kept to being charged as minors. That'd just be my guess, but. Was it about Brock Turner? No, this is about Ethan Couch.
Video.
What is this?
From 2019. Many of the DGGers will lose their minds when they see me watching this because they think this is why me and Destiny broke up when we were friends. Anyway, we'll continue with this.
Computer, I have to remain neutral about these things. I really shouldn't take a position.
I have many clients in that matter, so I cannot.
Wait, is he re-watching these old shitty Kamala Harris videos? Is he recycling shit from 4 years ago? It also depends on how young they are too. 12 versus 17 will probably carry weight. Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
Talk with you about what we're doing in terms of the case.
Very seldom is she like first on an issue, right? She kind of like checks
Oh no, it's a new Vox video? Okay.
out the temperature first, sees how others around her are kind of reacting, and then she jumps in.
I want to be very well informed about exactly where it's going with the potential of my opinion.
Lavinia Woodward. You're the hot topic here. I think it's anytime my viewership gets above 10,000, he just needs to talk about me more. I don't know why. We got to push it down. Go the fuck away. All of you, leave. Or not all of you, just like, oh, there you go. Okay, good. There we go. Okay. 9,800. Don't count the kick viewers. The curious case of Lavinia. If people have conflicting viewpoints on this, I would have to deep dive this. We don't have time for this right now. Okay, I think whatever video I make, I think is going to revolve heavily around a timeline on J6th. Okay, here's where my brain is right now for like planning out how I would want to do like a 10 to 20 minute video on this. Maybe up to 30 minutes if I had to. No, I don't want to heavily plan too much actually before I talk to neutral people. Because I'm curious what they find the most compelling. I think. But whatever, for my personal stuff that I think is important. So on January 6th, I think Trump's actions are very important. I think that actions that Trump or any of his cronies take in the furtherance of the electorate plot, I think is important. I think what the Proud Boys do is important. And I think what the Oath Keepers do is important. I think these 4 different things, I think, should be tracked pretty closely because I think they're kind of important. So for Donald Trump's actions, I think it's showing general inaction. Well, what are the... Well, I mean, we can actually... Hold on. Actually, we can just... Wait, number this. Is there any proof that they're affiliated with Trump? Any of these groups? I don't think so. There might be some coordination with like Roger Stone. Okay, Donald Trump's actions on January 6th, I would say, can be characterized as a complete and total abdication of responsibilities to ensure the safety of the Capitol. We would say a willingness to take advantage of the violence and furtherance of the coup attempt, or to say of the coup, the attempted coup. 1, 2, 3. I think it would be these 2 things. They're just the focus, basically. For the furtherance of the coup, it would be lawmakers, Trump campaign and staff and other staff, and his lawyers attempting to pressure people to go along with the coup. For the Proud Boys, it would be the actions on January 6th, especially the initial gathering plus breach of the Capitol grounds. And then for the Oath Keepers, I think it would be the actions on January 6th, especially the quick response teams. Was it QRT or quick reaction forces? Staged with I believe it was hundreds of firearms nearby, ready for action. I'm trying to think if I missed out on anything big on the day of. So on January 6th, we've got people begin to construct a gallows outside of the Capitol. That's at 6 a.m. At 7:30 a.m., Mark texts Jim Jordan. I've pushed for this. Not sure it's going to happen. He's talking about the electorate flip. Stuff referencing the coup attempt. At 8:17, Trump tweets, states want to correct their votes, which they now know were based on irregularities and fraud, plus corrupt process. Never received legislation. It's just, this is more in furtherance of the coup stuff. It's also a Trump action. I don't know if I can do would I do orange? Orange and yellow? I feel like you need 2 very clear parallel plot lines that casual viewers can follow. The overt, what most people would have seen leading up to J6, and the covert. Kind of, I think this is what I don't want to have this too, I'm worried about getting this too stuck in my head because if other people don't find it compelling, I don't want to be stubbornly pushing. But these are the things that I see majorly leading up to January 6th. I think January 6th is the culmination of a few different plots. So one is the Actually, there's already a name for this: the big lie. I don't know if I'll borrow that language because I don't know if it's been poisoned or not. But basically, knowingly pushing voter fraud. This is step one. This starts before the election, which was November 3rd, I think, right? So one is pushing the big lie. This enables every other event that follows to take place. Without this, you have nothing, okay? So this is number one. That's the most important thing. Number two is preparation from militias to take organized violent action on January 6th. This involves the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. These are where all of your big seditious conspiracy charges come in from. You've got the Eastman / Chesbro electors plot. Wait. Wait, hold on. It would be... and then this is... Okay. Okay. So this is how the history books will write about this and organize this, okay? Fuck you, okay? First, it starts with the voter fraud lie, okay? The voter fraud lie allows three different huge things to spawn from it, basically. After this big lie, the idea that Trump knowingly, with pushback from every single person, okay, was pushing lies about voter fraud, okay, from this, three different kinds of things, three different kinds of plots sprung. You have people like the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, okay, begin to make preparations to do their big J6 militia movement, which is all of it is laid out in court testimony, documents, indictments. None of this is contested. You've got the Eastman and Chesbro electors plot. Basically, Donald Trump finds people who are willing to sell him on an idea of how to illegally, basically, coup the government. How do we contravene some law? How do we use Mike Pence and lawmakers to basically kick back the election results? And then you've got Donald Trump organizing a massive rally protest on the day of, within a mile of the Capitol. And then all three of these plots come together, or try to, basically, on January 6th. On January 6th, you have the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys that are part of the organized violence. The Proud Boys are the first people into the Capitol. Arguably, the only reason anybody broke in was because of them. Eastman and Chesbro, even on the day of, were still in the form of speeches and in the forms of people trying to drop off fake electors. They were trying to get Pence to still go along with this fake electors plot. And then with neither of these two things being enough, there was the idea that enough protesters at January 6th at the Capitol building could pressure lawmakers with the threat of violence and intimidation into folding into this electors plot thing, basically. All three of these were kind of running concurrently up to January 6th, and then all three of these happened on January 6th. And then if they would have been successful, these would have been the three events running in parallel that would have led to a successful coup attempt. The Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys ultimately failed because the Oath Keepers didn't get the signal that they thought they were going to get from Donald Trump to go in. The Proud Boys succeeded in getting into the Capitol, but nothing happened after that. There was no huge mobilization of the National Guard from Trump to go and help them, and nothing grew from that. The electors plot failed because Pence was a brave American and shot it down every step of the way, and nobody else in the White House was willing to go along with this voter fraud electors plot. And then the January 6th speech and rally ended up ultimately, while there was limited success, they managed to delay the vote. They'd managed to delay the certification of the vote. nothing was coming afterwards. There just weren't any lawmakers that were willing to go along as strongly as Trump wanted to make anything work. So all three prongs ultimately failed, especially basically because of Mike Pence. And I'm trying to think, if Mike Pence folds, I think everything probably changes here. I think that if Mike Pence folds, I think everything changes. Because if Mike Pence folds, that means that the electors plot is basically successful. It means that we immediately enter a constitutional crisis. Everything at the Capitol becomes much more confusing. I don't even know if Nancy Pelosi wants to go back once people are driven into the basement. If Mike Pence flees the Capitol, or if lawmakers are seen leaving the Capitol, it's possible that other violent groups, the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, end up like starting to ferry in arms or something, or start to take things more seriously. It's possible that Donald Trump takes a more active role if he sees lawmakers flee the Capitol because he thinks that things are going his way. It's possible that the rioters all become more violent if they see that they're successful, they're succeeding, because they see lawmakers, the Pence thing is a really big thing. But do we know if Trump had enough people at the House willing to flip? By the end of his scheming, I think Donald Trump had 11 different lawmakers that were willing to be on board with his challenging of the certification of the vote. I'm trying to see. Fuck. It's listed in one of these tweets, I think. No. He might have said it during his speech. What do I have it? I have it in one of these. I think there's a tweet. No, it's a tweet. By the time the certification comes around, I think Donald Trump had 11 people on board with challenging the certification of the vote. Fuck. What tweet would it have been? Maybe it was a retweet? Oh, wait, it might have been this one. Hold on. Oh, here it is. These are the 11, I think they're all senators, that Trump had that were willing to go along with challenging the certification of the vote in the Electoral College. It was Cruz, Johnson, Lankford, Daines, Kennedy, Blackburn, Brom, Loomis, Marshall, Haggerty, and Tuberville. And then Hawley joined them. What about Jim Jordan? Jim Jordan is a representative, not a senator. These were senators that were... But I guess the goal is to just basically talk about the lead up to, it's from this to these three things, and then how all these three things are running concurrently here, basically. Fuck, this has been so much work. I don't know if this will be worth it. I don't think this video is going to be as popular as all the work was, but hey, I learned a lot. Fuck it. But anyway, what if we tried to... Why is it that sometimes Obsidian fucks your alignment up? Look, if I tab and untab this, it'll work. Why? It's fucking annoying. Okay. If you had to, Steelman, when, if ever, have Democrats or people on the left in America done anything close to staging an insurrection? I'm sure you honestly probably could find some BLM riot for it. People try to come at me by saying that, like, oh, well, if this is an insurrection, you'd have to say other things are insurrection, blah, blah. I don't necessarily know if I consider, like, insurrection to even be necessarily that huge of a thing. The reason why the J6 stuff was so bad, wasn't because of what it was because of who led it. That's the issue. Nobody understands that. I think I've said this in, like, some arguments in the past, right? I'm sure that throughout history, there's probably been people who haven't even been charged, who have, like, tried to rise up against the government in some small, stupid groups. Like, I'm sure that if we were to go and look through the, what are those stupid things that happen on federal land where, what am I trying to think of? Who are the people that try to, like, take some federal land and they ended up having a shootout with the FBI? I think they even killed one. It's not CHAZ. CHAZ was, I don't even know what the fuck CHAZ was. I still need to look into that. Was it the Oregon guys? The Bundy family? No, it was like kind of recent. It might have been, no, I don't think it was Waco. People are saying Bundy Ranch. It might have been that. I think it was this. Like this, maybe this counts as an insurrection. I don't know. I'd have to go and look this up. But the stuff with this, like, the reason why this wasn't as big of a deal as it was because these guys were basically acting alone, I think, right? I don't think that there were any, like, I don't think there were any politicians that were giving these guys support. But the president of the United States leading this is what makes this such a huge deal, you know? Wouldn't CHAZ count? Is CHAZ something you would research in the future? I think why did this just open a whole last new fucking thing now? Please stop. I think I wrote CHAZ on my thing to look up. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we could probably read about this. But I don't think anybody even knows what CHAZ was. I don't know what CHAZ was. And anytime I've asked somebody to tell me, okay, what actually happened, nobody has any fucking idea. Nobody has any clue what the fuck, like, anything happened with CHAZ. So, yeah, I don't know if anybody even knows. I have no clue. I don't know. Yeah. Neither do the CHAZ people? Yeah, maybe not, yeah. But, okay. So Trump tweets out at 8:17 a.m. At 8:22, Trump tweets, the Republican Party and more importantly our country needs the presidency more than ever before. The power of the veto. Stay strong. At 9 a.m., that Save the March rally starts. I would say everything in here is all talking about the coup shit. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Tony Ornato informs Mark Meadows, Trump's White House Chief of Staff, that authorities at the Ellipse encountered attendees with weapons, including pistols, rifles, bear spray, and spears. According to Hutchinson's testimony, so Trump knows that there are weapons and everything in the crowd. I would say that's in furtherance. At 10:30 a.m., 200 to 300 Proud Boys begin marching towards the Capitol. They start gathering before that. Proud Boys. Let me reread some of the This is the indictment. OIG report. Cringe, don't care. On the day of On January 6, 2021, at 10 a.m., a group of approximately 100 Proud Boys members gathered near the Washington Monument. Okay. I've been kicked out of leftist spaces here for not following their constellation. I'll spill all about CHAZ. I made videos with leftists on it. Okay, maybe in the future when we check it out. Okay, so at 10 a.m., a group of about 100 Proud Boys began gathering near the Washington Monument. None of them wearing the ordinary Proud Boys uniforms, with leadership equipped with radios and bullhorns to direct group movements consistent with plans made prior by Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio. While it was happening, CHAZ was a big deal. I'm surprised you don't know much about it. Were you not into politics during that time? It's the thing is I don't consider myself knowing much about anything until I've actually like read hard into a thing, because there's so much like misinformation that gets like spread about any particular thing. I don't know anything about a thing until I actually read into it. I heard about it at the time it was happening, but I don't know what was true or what wasn't true. I heard everything from cops decided to fuck off because they were protesting and they left, and there was some like group that basically said, well, this is CHAZ territory now, you guys don't get to come police here anymore, and that like people got killed inside and cops were disallowed from coming in to investigate, all the way to a group of like violent Black Panthers, BLM activists kicked all the cops out of like a block and took it over and tried to set up their own government. I have no idea like I don't know what actually happened in terms of like what the process was, what actually happened from start to finish. It was like a really big event, or if it was like a what the fuck ever event, I'm not sure.